Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a free hit draft ahead of Game Week 22. We're a while away from Game Week 22, but I thought I'd get there early, get a draft in, so let's dive into it. So guys, before we take a look at my free hit draft for Game Week 22, if I could please ask you first to hit that subscribe button. As I chase 1k subs, that would be fantastic. It takes 2 minutes. I really appreciate all the help and support you guys have given me so far. So lots of new viewers still not subscribed. So if you can hit that subscribe button, that would be great. Before we take a look at the draft, it's worth looking at the fixtures. This is a representation of the Fantasy Football Scout fixture ticker. So the fixtures at the top have the best, the teams at the top have the best fixtures, and the teams at the bottom have the toughest fixtures. So we will build our draft based on this, or it will be helped by this pretty much. So starting right at the top, Liverpool have a really good fixture against Burnley, home fixture. Burnley continues to struggle. You know, they are still clearly one of the worst sides in the league. I know they kind of scored a couple against Manchester United last time out, but again, United really aren't keeping clean sheets. Liverpool are, in fact, I think 2 in the last 3. So whichever way you look at it, I think Liverpool are unbeaten in 10 now. So I think investing in them this week, is both from a defensive perspective and attacking perspective, is probably a good idea, right? So second on the ticker is Tottenham. They have a home match against West Ham, which could be tricky. Tottenham very much out of form. West Ham also out of form. So minimal investment there, I think, with the free hit. Newcastle also have a really good fixture that they play Wolves away. Newcastle now 3 wins on the bounce. Very kind of convincing in terms of kind of defensive assets, attacking assets. There's lots to choose from with Newcastle, and I would definitely look at Newcastle this week for the free hit. Now, you've also got the likes of Villa, the likes of Arsenal. I think Arsenal, obviously, another big one against Forest. Now, I think 3 losses in the last 4. Arsenal looking really rampant. Obviously, they drew against Liverpool last time out, but still, I think this is a fixture you need to be looking at in terms of the free hit. Other fixtures include obviously Manchester City against Man United. I think maybe many people kind of pull back on how much they invest in Manchester City, even against Manchester United. It's not really a tough game, but again, assets like Foden, Cherki didn't start last time out. Foden's not really returning his last 4 or 5 matches, so pretty hard. And obviously they've lost a lot of key players in defence, so pretty difficult to invest in Manchester City at the moment. So now that we've seen the fixtures, let's now take a look at a free hit draft. So I actually found it pretty tricky to pick a decent goalkeeper this week. I know there are a few teams likely to keep a clean sheet, but yeah, I just found it really difficult. I was not quite sure which way to go. But because I didn't want to kind of invest in any of the Liverpool players, I think obviously, with Virgil van Dijk, he's not really done it in terms of DEFCONs. He's not really offered any attacking threat at all. Frimpong is, you're never quite sure if he's going to start, what position he's going to start in. So they don't really offer that much outside of the potential of clean sheets. And for that reason, I have gone with Alisson. He is one of the cheapest routes into the Liverpool defence, one that should keep a clean sheet. Again, to kind of repeat myself, Liverpool did keep 2 clean sheets in the last 3, so showing some sort of defensive strength. I know they were awful at the start of the season, but this week against Burnley, one of the worst sides, one of the worst defensive sides in the league. I think you just have to back the Liverpool defence. So I've gone with Alisson. I've also paired him with Dubravka. So they are my goalies. They are my goalkeepers. Let's now move on to defence. So moving on into the defence, I think I would back Thiaw this week, albeit, I know he got a yellow card. I think he came close, or he did concede a pen in the last match. He actually got taken off as well, I think at half time by Eddie Howe. But we've got to remember he's such a goal threat, isn't he? He scored recently, picked up a 17-pointer again in one of his most recent matches. So yes, he had a bit of a stinker last time out, but I think against Wolves, who are the worst attack, or one of the worst attacks in the Premier League, I think you kind of have to back a Newcastle defender. And Thiaw, for me, is the best of the bunch. I know people will also like Hall, but I really do like Thiaw for this one. Now, I've also included Gabriel. He's probably a must. Arsenal, the best defence in the league. A clean sheet last time out against Liverpool. The most clean sheets in the league. Really good underlying data. You can't really kind of keep repeating this stuff. We all know by now that Arsenal have the best defence in the league. And he scored back-to-back goals on his return from injury. Gabriel, he's also produced more big chances than any other defender already, albeit he was out for a long time. I've also gone for Cash. Now, there's a load of different good defensive options you can pick from Cash. Picked up an assist recently, scored against Arsenal, has attacking threat. Everton haven't massively convinced as per their latest performance against Brentford. But for me, I really like Cash. He's plays for Aston Villa, who are literally the third best team in the league according to the table. So for me, you have to have some sort of coverage. I really do like Cash for this week. Now, you could also back Anderson, obviously DEFCON machine against Leeds United. You can also have Spence, cheap coverage into the Tottenham defence, albeit, Tottenham defence haven't been great. Tottenham haven't been great as a whole, but, I still really like Spence as an option. You could even start him, maybe take a bit of a punt. But yeah, I really like these defenders this week. Happy with Thiaw, happy with Gabriel. I'm really happy with Cash. Now, the free hit is a good time to take some punts, and I do think one of them is Bournemouth's Tavernier. He's been nailed for Bournemouth, we know that, but with Clive out, due to an operation, Semenyo has now left for Manchester City. Tavernier now feels like a shoe-in that Bournemouth attack. He did get an assist recently. He's also showed goal threat. He's got set pieces. He also will now take penalties now that Semenyo's not there. So Brighton haven't exactly been one of the steadiest teams at the back. So really like Tavernier as a punter. I also really like Bruno Guimaraes. I own Gordon personally, so the choosing him over Bruno Guimaraes, his Guimaraes has not been ideal at all. Guimaraes has managed 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 4, so has the minutes for Newcastle. When the Newcastle wingers are coming off and being subbed off, Guimaraes stays on, and he also took and scored a penalty last time out as well. So if Gordon isn't on, Walter Marder isn't on, he will do that. So I really like him as an option against a really bad Wolves defence. I've also gone for Saka. They play Forest this week. Saka hasn't impressed too much, or a couple of assists in his last 3 or 4 matches, not too much, but still impressive in terms of underlying data. You still want to back one of the best kind of standout assets from the Arsenal side, right? And I know Rice is in the mix as well for that kind of label, but I really do like Saka. Yes, he's frustrating, but I think to go without him against Nottingham Forest would be I think it could be foolish. So this is a type of team that he could, haul against, right? Pick up double digits, which he's only done twice this season. I really like Saka this week still. I also really like Virch. Finding a way, obviously, into the Liverpool attack has been quite tricky, none quite convincing. I thought Wirtz impressed me against Arsenal, actually. He was quite impressive, did the most, or one of the most, in terms of the Liverpool attack, albeit they didn't do too much. The game was quite stale in general. I think, a couple of goals recently for Wirtz. He's back in the mix. He's growing now, isn't he? He's looking like the player he used to be at Leverkusen. But also, Burnley are terrible in defence. I think they're joint second worst defence in the league. So Wirtz feels like a good option this week. And I also like Enzo. He now leads the way in terms of non-penalty expected goal involvement among all midfielders. We're not too sure where he's going to play, whether it be deep, whether it be number 10. But either way, he's still producing this data, whether he plays deep or number 10. He's very consistent in terms of, consistently producing the data. He's got a couple of goals in his last few matches as well. So this is my midfield. There's a debate whether to include maybe Wilson, potentially even for Tavernier. There are more options that you could pick from, but I really like these 5 for Game Week 22. Now, it's pretty straightforward in the forward line. Haaland is an absolute shoo-in. I know he hasn't really done much as of late, bar the odd goal. Not as rampant as he was early in the season, but I still think it'd be quite a big mistake to leave him out, even, against a leaky Man United, who conceded a couple of goals to Burnley as of late. Now, the only question mark is obviously Ekitike. He wasn't in the squad for Arsenal, but it's basically 10 days before the next round. So you'd imagine that he would recover and start against Burnley. And obviously, if he does start, if he does recover, he is arguably the best forward going into the round. Obviously, Krupi makes his way into the draft, obviously, to enable funds elsewhere. I mean, he's been starting for Bournemouth. Well, he started the last game for Bournemouth with Semenyo now departed to Manchester City and Justin Kluivert undergoing surgery. We could see more of him, but he won't start for us. Ekitike starts. Thiago is obviously a very good alternative, even against Chelsea. Chelsea very leaky as of late. So, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go for Thiago rather than Ekitike. But if Ekitike is fit, he is playing arguably the worst defence in the league. So for me, Ekitike, a really, really good option. But yeah, monitor news right up until Game Week 22. As always, guys, if you do enjoy the wildcard and free hit draft videos, then please hit that subscribe button. It allows me to keep making content, and it also keeps you up to date as quick as possible as and when videos release. I'll see you guys again soon.